Welcome to a training video of the Import Taxes screen in PayPak Professional 4.0. This screen is used to import fixed tax entries from an import file which has a specific format used by PayPak Professional. Fixed tax data files are mostly used when creating year-to-date batches. Please see the training video on export taxes for instructions on creating data files for fixed tax entries. So let's sign in and show you how it works. The Import Taxes screen is found under the Import section of the menu, beside Import Gross Pay and Import Deductions. So we click on the button, and here is the screen. The main use of this screen is for cases where you are importing year-to-date batches. You may have a company which started using the payroll maybe in say June of 2021, and they've entered some batches, but they do not have the year-to-date totals from January to May entered yet, and they wish to enter that so that the payslips can show the correct year-to-date totals. You can also have a case where the company may have been in operation since maybe say 2 years ago, and for tax reporting or internal reporting or for maybe severance pay purposes, you want to have that past data brought into PayPak. You wish to have your full year's information for 2019, for 2020, and for the portion of 2021 that's passed already, which is January to May in the case I gave just now. So that's the main use of it. It could also be used if you want to import taxes in cases where sometimes we have companies which pay bonuses, or there are people who have extraordinary salaries and extraordinary conditions, and they have they wish to calculate the tax. The tax is pre-calculated. They don't calculate it from PayPak. They calculate the tax. They want a particular amount of tax to be deducted from the pay, and that's done as a fixed tax. Now, you can enter the fixed taxes manually when you edit the batches, but if you have a large number of employees to process, it may be easier to put those fixed tax entries into a spreadsheet or CSV file or TXT or tab delimited file and import them into the payroll. It's much quicker than having to edit individual entries. And we do have cases where you have customers with 50 employees, 100 employees, 200, 700, 900. We have some customers with over 1,000 employees. And it could be a case where there was some sort of payment adjustment, some sort of back pay entry. Maybe there was a tax change which did not get done before the payroll was made. You need to make an adjustment to your taxes. This screen would allow you to import a file which has the tax differential amount which you wish to post. You could be doing a correction, as I said. So for year-to-date totals, where you want to get the tax amounts and add them to a year-to-date batch, or for adjustment to an already calculated tax amount, you can use the Import Taxes screen. It imports a file, and that file, there's a specific format for it, and you can create a blank file using the Export Taxes screen. And there is a separate video for that. Those features are found under the Export section of the menu. Now, I have some files which were created in the Export Taxes demo, and we're going to use one of them to import the entries which will be imported in this demo. let's have a look at the file and then, or files, because there's more than one of them. There are a number of different formats. Some of them they can be imported from the employee profile. They could also be imported from what we call a template, where you choose the particular lines that you want for the selected employees. Now I have some files in this folder here, and there are 8 of them in total. There are 4 of them come from the employee profiles. These are the ones that start with the word employee, and the ones below, they come from a template. And at present, I believe some of them have some information in, all of them may not. I'll just go through the process with you. Let's start with the employee taxes, the Excel 2007 spreadsheet. I open that up, and there you'll see some information. There's a template one. Let's open the template one, and I think I'll do them 2 at a time. So I'll push the template, dock the template over here, and the employee one, we will get that from here and dock you over here. Right, and have a look at the totals. Now, these were partially completed. Basically, the file has the name of the employee, which is not used for importing. The asterisk indicates that that's just for reference only, to guide you as you're editing the file. We have the employee ID, which is what is used for matching. There's the employee number. This particular database does not use an employee number, so it's blank. But if you have an employee number, you can use either the employee ID or the employee number, or both. I'll just bring this back in to make room there to make the editing a little easier, the display of the columns. And we have a payment column, in which case it's just payment number 1. There's a tax ID and a category ID columns, and these must be valid codes in your database. We also have taxable, which is optional, employee amount, and the employer amount. The employee amount is the amount for the employee, which would apply in the case of NIS, PAYE, all the other taxes, and the employer amount, of course, that would apply only to NIS, not for PAYE. At the moment, there's no requirement for the company to pay, for most places, any portion of PAYE. This database also contains a deduction which was set up as a tax. It was for Fortress Pension, and they had some codes in there for it. Those codes are in this file. Entries are in this file, but they're not in this one here. So I'm going to fill out these. I'm just going to put some information in them and fill them out. Let's start with the one on the left. Let's say that the gross, this was 68,529.89. The taxable amount, this is the taxable amount for each particular tax, and we're assuming that the taxable amount in this case is the same for all 3 types of tax. This is for Fortress Pension. Let's just make this $1,175. That's what the employee paid. Let's say the employer contribution to that was $1,225. Then we have a line for the NIS for Johan Denny. Let's make his pay $70,000 flat. We'll use that for all the entries. Let's say his amount for the NIS was about $71.54, and his employer portion was $72.52. His PAYE, let's say his deductions came to $1,125.63. His Fortress Pension was $125 for the employee and $520.12 for the employer. Johan Dottin, his let's say that his was 80,000. This is gross pay. Let's missed a zero there. Good. And let's say that the employee amount 8852.36, and let's make this one for the employer. Let's make it $9,003.69. PAYE, let's say paid $9,595. And the Fortress pension, let's say he had $1,000.52, and a matching amount for the employer deduction 152. Good. Okay, so this is how the file would need to be filled out with the information for the employee, which I could then save, and I can do the same thing over here for the other file to update that. So we got this 68,529.89. No, this is actually Trade Denny. So Trade Denny was the $70,000, and Johan Dottin was 80,000. Keep dropping a zero there. Okay, now for Johan Denny, his let's put it over here. His NIS was 7154, so we put 7154, and the employer was 7252. His PAYE was 1125.63. Then we have Johan Dottin, 8852.36, 9003.69. No PAYE, and his PAYE total was 95.95. Right. So we've updated the two files, and what we could also do, this file only has the entries for the NIS and the PAYE. This one has the pension lines. This does not have the pension. Now, if you only wanted to import NIS and PAYE, this file is fine. If you need all three, you can add those entries to this file, and it's a straightforward matter of copy and paste. So if I wanted to pull those into this other file, I can copy, because the point of this is showing you that you can edit the files and add more lines to them. If there was missing information, you can add it in. So we've got Yvette Daniel, then there's Yvonne Davis, her Fortress pension line. They're not in the same order. They don't need to be. They just need to be there. So we get Johan Denny, and we paste his information over. So it's just like working in any other spreadsheet, filling out the information, getting it in there. The important thing is that, oops, I forgot. The important thing is that you do not alter the layout of the columns. Excel is the easiest format to work with. Okay? You don't alter the format of the columns, neither do you, but you can insert information, you can remove information, but you have to be very careful that the codes that you enter don't modify these codes unless you're changing them to a valid code. Sometimes the file may be created with no tax ID or no category ID. You have to enter a valid tax ID code and a valid category ID code as used by PayPak. Because remember, you may have been importing this from, you may be getting these figures from another payroll system, and that payroll system may have used a different system for codes from what we use in PayPak. So the codes which you enter in here, and indeed the employee ID, must match the employee IDs used in PayPak. The video on the exporting the taxes will give you more information on how that works. So I'm going to save this entry and save this one. I believe that you could save these as CSVs and tab delimited from Excel. I think I will try to do that now. File, save as. This is actually LibreOffice I'm using. Right, there's the Excel 2003 format. So I'll save that. There was a file there. I'll overwrite it because then it will carry the changes. It will have with it the changes which we made, the numbers that were added there. So I've saved that one. File, save as, and we go from Excel 2007 to the 97 format, and we save that and overwrite the existing one. I will also save them as CSV format so that you can get an idea of what they look like. So CSV should be in here, right? And save, and we do the other one. Just tell that okay, that should be fine. File, save as. I've never actually saved them created the CSVs before using LibreOffice, but it should be fine. Previously I've done it in Excel. Save, yes. We'll see when we go back to the import screen. And then the tab delimited format file, save as, and we want, there should be an option for tab delimited. Probably not seeing one here, but we could choose this, I believe, and I'll just leave that one alone because that does not, this does not give me the option for tab delimited. I don't want to interfere with the format that was there before. So if I close these files now, these files now have the same information in all of them. So if I check the dates and times, the date modified, it's only these TXT ones. There's one here, employee taxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why do we have 9? Something went wrong somewhere. Employee taxes. Oh, it says employees taxes. So that was a typo. We missed that yesterday actually, so I will just delete that one. That was incorrectly named. So it's only these TXT ones here which are missing the information. The TXT format looks like this. Okay? And these are not the easiest format to be editing because you can easily make mistakes. But I believe they can be opened in Excel, and some other programs will save them in. You can have them saved back in the TXT format. Okay, so let's continue and show you how it works. We can continue with the ones that we've done so far. I've now filled out the information in the files. So the files are created, the files are there. I will start with a look at the layout of the screen, and then we'll show you how it works. First, you choose the format. Okay, and we have 4 formats here. We've got the Excel 2007, Excel 2003, comma separated CSV, and tab delimited TXT. Then we have the file name, where you choose the file that matches the format there. Under that you have beside that you have the date and time that file, the selected file was modified, the date and time. Beside that you have whether the data has headers or not, and that's an important selection. You must make sure that this is set correctly. If you turn on data has headers and the file does not have a header record, it will use the first line as the header, and that first line will not get imported. So you need to be careful that you know what the file contains and how it's structured. Then we have an option for the batch, and this will be the batch to which the entries will be imported. You have some totals at the top. We have a section for the lines, the import lines, which will be displayed when we display the contents of the file. Under that we have a list of errors, so if any errors occur during processing, they will be displayed here and they can be printed, which will give the option of the opportunity to correct them and try again. And at the bottom of the screen we have a variety of buttons which control various functions for this screen. So let's start with Excel. We choose the file, I browse, and I go to my C drive, and I go to my demo files folder, import taxes, and these are the two which we just modified. I'll go with the employee ones, tell it open. It shows the date and time that they were modified, 309. It says data has headers. The batch, I pick from the list of batches, and these are the unposted batches. Now I had created a batch dated the 27th of December 2019 specifically for the purposes of this demo. I click that batch because that contains the names of the employees whose names you would have seen in the file, and then I just click the display button. When I click on display, up comes the list of entries. There are no errors, so I can now import or attempt to import these entries into that batch. And these are the figures that I would have just keyed in. You can see the employee amount and the employer amount. You can see the taxable amounts. Now, let's say that I want to show you how the errors work. I'm going to edit the file and change some of the information. Let's say we change this to 75W and create a code, a tax code that's not there. Let's say we either make it blank, we can make one blank, not fill it in, or we can make it a code that does not exist in the database. So I come back here, I open my employee file, and let's say I'd forgotten this one, and this one here, instead of 275, we made it 290W. And let's assume that really is 290W, but the 290W is not set up in PayPak. Okay, so close the file, minimize this. I click display again, and we have an error. I need to go back to that file. You got the space here. Okay, it picked up the error on line 2 that a valid code is required. The 290W is there, but it stopped here. I may need to go back to that file, format it correctly. I deleted the cell, but I may need to put a space in there instead of just making it null. So I may need to, oops, that's the wrong one. That's the template one. I need the employee taxes here. There we go. So I'm going to just put a space in there, or actually I could just say What if I say clear contents? Clear contents. Or just put a space or something. We save it. I'll just put a space for now and save it, because it's important to note that these files are very particular about the format, and you need to make sure that they're formatted properly. So I will do my display, and it's detected 2 errors. See, the 2 errors are here. It says on line 2 a valid tax ID is required. So that's line 2. And on line 5 a valid tax ID is required. And this is, it's calling for 290W. And 290W does not have, that's not set up in the payroll. So what we need to do is we can go to the tax assistant and add that one. So let's go to records, tax assistant. In this case it was for Barbados, so we choose Barbados, we choose income tax, we choose weekly, and we look in here for the 290. There's the 290W, it's not added, so we update it, save it, so that now exists. And we have to make a correction to the file for that person who was missed out. Now, let's come back here. And let's make this 250W. So we have a valid code. We save it. We fix our file. Close this. And we go back to the import taxes screen. And we run another display. Now these errors, they could be printed. I could have clicked here on the errors button and previewed them. And the report looks like this. You could print it out and then investigate the file, because you may have had a file with maybe hundreds of employees in it and you need to manually fix your file again. The printout would be useful for that purpose. So let's display again and see what happens. And now there are no errors. Everything is correct. The 250W is showing and the 290W is showing. There's no errors in the file. And I would now import those entries. So I click on import and it says taxes have been successfully imported. So the taxes being imported, I may now look at the batch. Let's have a look at that batch. We go to transactions, we edit the batch. Here it is, a year-to-date batch. You can see there's no standard pay, no benefits, no service charge, no gross pay at all, but there is a total of $53,770.74 in taxes, so the net pay is a minus amount. When we import the year-to-date totals for gross pay and maybe for deductions too, then this would become a positive number. So let's have a look at the batch. We edit the batch and up it comes. These are the 4 employees. And if I click on, it's at Yvette Daniel. If we go to the taxes tab, you will see the 3 entries imported as fixed taxes. Okay, and basically that's how it works. You can then edit this batch and modify it however you wish. In a case like this, if this was a year-to-date batch, you would be importing gross pay and maybe importing deductions too. And when everything balances back to your year-to-date totals, the batch will be posted. So we can exit from there, exit from here, and we are back to the import taxes screen. So just to continue now, the new button would clear the screen. We saw the errors button, how that worked. The settings button saves various settings for you. Your format, the option for whether you have the data has headers or not, and the position of this divider on the main part of the screen. The reset button will clear the settings. and the video button will launch your browser and show you this video which you are currently viewing, so that if you need to remember how something was done while you're using the software, the help is right there on your YouTube video from within the software. And the exit button brings this video to a close. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure as always to share some time and share some knowledge with you on the features of PayPak Professional 4.0. Please do look out for the training videos on importing gross pay and importing deductions, as well as exporting gross pay, exporting deductions, exporting taxes, and there will be one on creating year-to-date batches as well. So take care and goodbye.